Welcome to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez, and let's dive in as we help you grow your mindset and elevate your leadership. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the It Matters podcast. Man, I'm excited that all of you are joining me once again, and I have a very special guest today, a longtime friend, actually, Meaghan Becker. And I was actually thinking about this. We've known each other for 15 plus years, and I was also thinking about, I have a lot of respect for her with her mindset, her entrepreneurial attitude and mindset as well in that. And when I was first taking leadership in my personal development very serious, Meaghan actually played a big role in encouraging me and just motivating me to level up. And so I've been excited to bring her on to an episode because I think you're all going to love what she has to say. And so Meaghan, welcome to the It Matters podcast. Thank you for coming to hang out with me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Walter, for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to chat.
Yeah, so a little fun fact, Meaghan, I was thinking about it. You actually emceed my wedding almost 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about that because you did such an amazing job, and forever you will be part of my story there because I thought it was pretty cool.
That's so cool. Well, happy 11th wedding anniversary to you and Alex.
Yeah, that's this May. I can't believe that, we're talking about 5 children later and 11 years, right? Like it's been pretty cool. A cool
Fun
ride.
journey.
So I wanted to chat a little bit more with you because you're living in Vancouver, BC right now. You used to live in Edmonton, Alberta, where I'm at. And I know that you one of your main things that you do is you're a realtor. I know that you're a CrossFit athlete. And you coach, and I just wanted to kind of hear from you. Like, what's Meaghan all about? Like, what are you up to?
Yeah, it's been a fun journey. Edmonton is definitely home, but for the longest time, I've wanted to live out in Vancouver. Just the lifestyle, it fits me. I love being outside on the water, in the mountains, just walking everywhere. And so many people have said like this lifestyle so fits you. It's cool to see. And it's not easy to transition out to the West Coast. It's not cheap out here by any means. And so the right opportunity came up in real estate here with a really incredible team. And so I had to jump on it, and it's been a fun journey ever since. And I think, a lot of kind of what I do has blended together to make it a really great transition.
When I found out that you were moving down there, it didn't surprise me one bit because I know that you've gone down there multiple times throughout your life, and it just seemed like a good fit for you. And so it's pretty cool that you're adapting. You've done a good transition there.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
I bet. Hey, well, you know what? And also, it doesn't surprise me because, like, I want to say this too for a moment. For the amount of years that I've known you, I have a lot of respect for you because, like I said, I've noticed that you've been a very dedicated, committed. You have this mindset that, to me, like, let's figure this out mindset. Let's you work hard, and there's just something that. Whether somebody knows you directly or they see you from afar, you impact people's lives and you care about them. And so I wanted to point that out because those are some rare characteristics sometimes in people. And I think you have some good ones.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's, I think life is a fun journey, and there's so much things that people go through. And as you know, and kind of how our relationship started in this personal growth space, that you're really a product of the people that you surround yourself by. And I'm just incredibly grateful that I've been able to associate with people that have challenged the way that I think to help me understand like what I'm capable of and think bigger, think beyond circumstances, overcome. And I owe a lot of my success and just that mindset and the way that I think about life to some really key people that have supported me and been there for me, as I'm sure you do as well. Hey.
Oh, totally. 100%. I mean, I'm glad that you're touching on that because like, mindset, attitude, the people around you. I don't think we put enough importance on that sometimes, and you just alluded to that, the important role that that's played in your life.
Yeah.
So do you give a lot of credit to your success when it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, mindset is everything. I mean, I always say like the two things that you can control in life are your attitude and your actions. You know, you can't control people, you can't control circumstances. You'll see people that go through incredibly hard times in their life and they come out more successful and better and stronger. And then you see people that go through similar circumstances and it almost like ruins their life. And so you're like, what is the difference maker there? And from what I've experienced, it's the perspective that you choose to have, your attitude going through, you know, the crap in life
Yeah.
and the actions that you choose to take because of that. And that determines the person that you are, right?
Mm. I really appreciate you saying that too, because I mean, as you know, one of our kids was born with a rare disease, and I've mentioned it to the community quite a few times. But the reason I bring it up again, not to retell the story, is just because it's been hard,
Yeah.
especially early on, and sometimes people will come and say, "Man, you're pretty positive," but I don't think it's just this fluffy positivity, right? There's a little bit more to that,
Yeah.
and we've worked on that. We've worked on our personal growth. We've worked on the way we think, and that's why we can go through hard things, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, some people, and you've met them in life, some people kind of dig into the hard and some people will shy away from that. And it's almost like kind of a part of your personality, I find. Some people are excited about going through challenges. And then yeah, some people will kind of back up and really shy away from that.
Mm-hmm. Um, so like maybe when it comes to like personal growth, and I know that you have been a big reader of leadership books and all that. Is that something that you kind of started doing later in life, or do you remember doing that in your teenage years, for example, or how did that look?
I mean, somebody else just asked me this question. They're like, "How you like? You're pretty into personal growth. Like, did you just grow up like that?" And I mean, no. When I was in school in high school, I hated reading. I was terrible. I failed like the English diploma because I was so bad at comprehension.
Mm,
And I think it was because it's read this figurative story and interpret the meaning, and my brain just doesn't work like that. I'm very literal.
yeah.
And so in school, definitely not. I struggled with reading. I'm still probably one of the slowest readers ever. But kind of in the beginning of university, a friend had we had started talking about personal finance, and it was never something that I had really considered. And she
Mm,
had me. She was reading this book from this kind of personal finance guru, and then one of the other books that she recommended was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I remember
mm,
reading that very early on, and kind of thinking like, why was this never taught in school? Like,
right.
and it just you read something and it's like all of this is making sense. Why didn't I learn this earlier? Why wasn't this part of curriculum in high school or something? But then it was at that point where I was like, how do I apply this?
Yeah.
And so it was after that it kind of started this catalyst of there's more out there than go to school, get good grades, find something that you love to do and pursue that as a career for the rest of your life, which I
Mm,
started on that journey. And I don't subscribe to that equation to create success in life. I know some people do, but I lived it and I didn't subscribe to that. And so I kind of
right.
went down this route of, okay, there's other people out there that are doing different things. There's other resources, there's other books. And kind of from that point, I've always been reading something, listening, attending events on like personal finance, growth, leadership, something to just continually make me better in all those important areas.
That's I love that you shared that, because you and I have a very similar story. If you would have seen me in high school, yeah, writing. I mean, I speak Spanish. That's my second language. I had that other attribute, right? That was challenging for me. And yeah, I hated reading. But it's
Yeah,
funny when you start reading the right books and the ones that actually intrigue you and actually add value to you, it changes everything. And so, for
absolutely.
anybody listening to this, right, just because you haven't been a reader doesn't mean you can't start picking it up now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and that's also interesting too, because like um having this continuous attitude of wanting to personally grow is very important. Because would you agree with me, Meaghan, that um if you're not actually pursuing growth, if you're not trying to get better, you start moving backwards. You actually, there's no really such thing as standing still. You end up either going one way or the other.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, to me, people, people, I'm sure people have asked you this, they're like, are you happy? Or, define happiness. What's the purpose of life? Is to be happy. And I think, to me, the way I answer that is, happiness is like, to me, it's kind of dictated on your circumstances. There's certain things that make me happy. There's certain things that make me sad. But as a whole, I want to be able to look at my life, and how I really measure that is, am I growing? And I would think, growth isn't always comfortable. Am I happy growing all the time? In a short period, no, but over a longer time horizon, absolutely. That's what makes me excited about life. And there's like little moments in there that can make you happy, but happiness has never been a specific goal of mine. It's that overarching purpose of growth in the direction that I actually want to go in life, so that over a long time horizon, I can look back and be like, yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It's true, right? I mean, growing, there's growth pains that are involved,
Yeah.
and it might not be easy, but it will be worth it, right? And I mean, you
Yeah.
just said that very beautiful.
Yeah. I think people, if you have a really short-sighted, it's easy to, especially any entrepreneurial or athletic journey, not all of it is comfortable. And it's, if your vision is too short-sighted, it's like, oh, this is hard. It hurts. It's painful. Okay, that probably means I shouldn't do it. Let's go do something else. And I think that's why a lot of people bounce around from different things versus taking like the hard as an indication of like, oh, you're just not used to it. You're on the right track, but you're just not used to this type of hard, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you're talking about hard, and you just mentioned about being an athlete. So you're a CrossFit athlete. And
Yeah.
before I get you to share on that, so I actually just did CrossFit for the first time about a month,
Oh,
almost two
no
months ago.
way.
I was in Florida. I was at a retreat, kind of mastermind thing, and that was one of the things that we had to do. And it was one of the hardest things that I've had to do in a long time.
Oh, that's
Uh,
so
it,
cool.
it stretched me, but I loved it at the same time. Like it was really cool. And so, how long have you been doing it? Because I think you've been doing it for a long time, right?
Yeah, I started back in 2008 when nobody knew what CrossFit was. I probably spent the first 5 years like having to explain to people what it actually was. And then, yeah, kind of around 2013
Yeah.
is when it started to become more mainstream. Like the CrossFit Games were broadcasted on TV, and I mean, now everybody knows what it
Hmm.
is.
Oh, that's so cool. Why did you get into, like, did you do any other sports prior to that, that kind of set you up to having the mindset to try something new, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I played competitive soccer and lacrosse growing up. And then it was around that time where, for me, anyways, you get to a point in your athletic career that you either can't go any further. And that's where I really got. And so I was
Mm,
like, you either play rec sports or you do something else. And I didn't really love the idea of just playing rec sports. And, you play at such a high competitive level, and then to go and play for fun. To me, that wasn't fun anymore.
right.
And it was around that time where I found CrossFit. It was
Hmm.
a guy that I was going to school with, who was in the athletic therapy and strength and conditioning space, that started up this gym, this CrossFit gym. He's like, hey, I started up this gym, come try it. And I wanted to support him. And from the first session, I fell in love with it, because kind of right after playing competitive sports, I just did what most athletes do. You go to the regular gym and you work out to like lose weight and fit in
Right.
your clothes, and because you should work out. And I would just do the same thing on the treadmill. I would sit on the same machines. I would do the same weights. And that was like, like I was never improving. It was just, this is all that I know how to do now.
Right.
And I fell in love with the progress of it. And having a coach was one of the biggest things. Somebody that that knew you, that could see your potential, that could push you in the right areas and could challenge you. And, you were doing all of this variety of different movements. And some of them I was really good at, some of them I was horrible at, but I fell in love with the progress, and I could see my conditioning improving, my body strength, especially upper body. Like females, like to do pull-ups and push-ups as a female is quite tough. And to be able to see progress in that area has been so cool. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some of the videos you've posted, and it inspires me, but at the same time, I'm like, way to go, Meaghan. Like, it's pretty cool. And to hear that backstory of that, I want to unpack a couple of things that you just said, because the episode before this, actually, I talked about coaching.
Okay.
But the coaching perspective on why it's important for us to find a mentor in our lives, a coach, regardless of what arena we're in. And you just hit on that, on how that played a big part. So have you seen having a coach in sports also translate over to everything else that you're doing in life? Do you find that regardless of how old you are, what you do, that having mentorship coaching should be something that we should all be pursuing?
Absolutely. I mean, that whole phrase, like, you're the least capable of knowing what you're capable are. It's it really applies to every area of life. And I think if somebody is focused on growth, which I want to grow in every area of my life, like in areas that are in relation to my values, I love the act of being coached, and I love coaching other people, because it's this cool journey of, on the recipient side, to have somebody in your life that can see your potential, because you're focused on this. You're like, I'm at this block. I'm only good enough to this level to get me here. Like my brain is here, and this is where I've gotten me so far. But to have a coach that can see beyond that and help you focus on the little pieces, whatever that is, in CrossFit, in finances, in relationships, in business, in real estate, whatever that is, to have a coach in that area that can know you. And also there's that trust there, that it's not like a friend, where a friend is just going to be like, go Meaghan, you can do it, but they don't really have the resources to help you. Whereas a coach, they've been there, they've been along that journey. And so they can, help you figure out how to get to that next step, and to overcome that, and to have somebody that believes in you as well as has the resources. I just think is so invaluable. And then on the flip side, it's the coolest thing. Like, I'm not a parent. You can obviously attest to this, but it's so cool when you can see your kids do something that they were like terrified to do, or they're like, no, there's no way I can do this. But to have that role in somebody else's life is the coolest feeling. I use the example in CrossFit. Like, it's cool when I hit a PR or like do something, but it's even more exciting when I have a hand in helping somebody else like break through that, or hit a PR, or do something that they, they're like, there's no way I think I'd be able to do that. Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. And you're right. I mean, so I had shared before that I used to wrestle in high school. I did also coached. And so I completely 100% agree with everything you said. Coaching, having a coach in your life makes a world of a difference.
Yeah.
So do you think it's wise to have multiple coaches in your life? I mean, is it correct to say that it's not wise to think that one person can teach us everything?
I would absolutely agree with that. I think having coaches in different areas, because I think if you have one coach that's coaching you in every single area, it takes the onus off of you to actually critically think. Because yes, you want to seek out people that have similar values and have been on a similar journey, but nobody's you. No matter what they've done in life, no matter the most successful person in finances or business or whatever, no matter, they're still not you. They're still not operating with 100% of your personality, your strengths, and all of that. So having coaches in those different areas, it forces you not to just blindly follow advice, but to figure out, okay, what applies in this area. And it forces me, I'll use myself as an example, to really figure out okay, what is this, and how can I take this and have it become a part of me? And it's that balance too, because a lot of times when you're being coached in an area that you've never done before to get to another level, your brain is like, I don't think that this is right, because you've never done it before. And so it's balancing that, when to turn off my brain and when to turn on my critical thinking brain, and be like, okay, Meaghan, take a back seat and follow what the coach is saying, or be like, hey, what they're saying, I can take pieces of that and fit it in my life. And you almost develop these like principles that you can live by, as opposed to, why did you make that decision? I don't know, somebody told me to do it, which is not, a principle based way to live your life,
Right.
and a way to own the decisions that you are making for your life, right?
I love that, right? I think you painted a beautiful picture about having this nice balance, that just because you invite somebody to speak into your life, whether it's a coach, mentor, counsel, however that looks like, it doesn't give you permission to shut off your brain. That's not at all what you're saying.
Yeah.
But something that came to mind as you were talking is that both of us have read the personality tree
Yeah.
book. And so I know that you are a choleric. That was one of your personalities, and so am I. And the thing about cholerics is that there's a bit of a control thing behind that, right? Like, we want to do things, we want to do it a certain way. And so to hear you talk the way you're talking is very important to catch, because you've learned how to humble yourself too,
Yeah.
while being confident in knowing what you want out of life and how you want to do things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I was chatting with a friend recently, just about the difference between confidence and arrogance. And he's like, so many people think I'm arrogant. And I just said, well, what do you think? He's like, well, I can see why they say that, but I'm like, I don't really know how to articulate it. And I said, I think the difference is your humility. Like, to me, arrogance is, I'm the best, don't speak into my life, I know everything, I'm good. Whereas confidence is, I know what I'm good at, but I'm open to learning. And I have these conversations with people I trust all the time. I always use the example, I'm like, I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. When I'm talking, and if somebody that I respect can challenge the way that I'm thinking,
Mm.
I really love those conversations, as long as they're with an undertone of respect.
Yeah.
Because I think if people with similar values, they disagree on something, if they can do it in a really productive way, it'll make these ideas better, and you can
Yeah.
build off of that. And for me, like, my goal is not to be right, my goal is to be the best. And knowing that I'm not at my best, I'm continually seeking that. That's why I think I just have that. I've always had that in the back of my mind, that, yeah, of course I'm confident. I'm, I know what I'm good at, but, I haven't arrived. You know what I mean?
Oh, I love that line. Your goal's not to be right, but it's to be your best. How
Yeah.
cool that's! I love that perspective. I'm gonna keep that one, because that's so true. So hey, you have a lot of athletic perspective, and so I just want to lay it out here, because um, people that come from an athletic background have great determination. There's a lot of things that they've learned while being in the sport, going through those challenges, wins, failures, all that kind of stuff. But um, for those people that are listening that are not athletes, or haven't heard, haven't had the athletic perspective, would you say that it being an athlete would help you in your life, but you don't actually need to have that as your background to be able to be successful in life?
Yeah, you definitely don't need it. I think the principle of it, the reason why athletics and, entrepreneurship, or growth, and, doing something great in life work so cohesively for me, is because of the principle of you're continually improving. You have a coach, and you have an environment where you can actually win and get ahead.
Mm.
And that you can find that in any endeavor or any hobby, whether maybe you're like super into chess, you take that mindset of, it's not physical, but you take the mindset of wanting to continually improve. You want to have a coach, and you're continually evaluating your games and I'm not, that was a bad analogy because I don't know chess super well, but you're continually evaluating your moves and how you see things. And a coach is helping you look at that. And then you're you're in an environment where you're constantly winning. And I think human beings crave this environment where they can win. And I think that's why rec sports and video games and all these things are so popular, is because people crave that deep down. And I think everybody has the ability to be disciplined, to delay gratification, to be on a growth path. But I think it comes down to a desire and the right environment that people are in. Maybe they've never been exposed to an environment where they, it's an environment where you have the freedom to fail. I think that's where one of the great things about athletics is that, from to some extent or whatever, you fail too much, you're going to be cut from the team.
Yeah.
But you have this environment where you can go out, you can make mistakes, and you have a coach that's helping you analyze those mistakes and continually learn from them. And I love that about business as well. And sometimes it's tough learning from our mistakes, but I wasn't smart enough to read something in a book and avoid it completely. Sometimes I had to go through the hard stuff myself to really learn a lesson. And so I think you can take all of these principles that I personally got from athletics and apply them into your business or your career or your family goals, relationship goals, or whatever.
That kind of reminds me of a John Maxwell quote, because everything you've said right now kind of connects to having experience, right? Whether you're failing or you're winning, you experience. But I remember him saying that experience is not the best teacher, but evaluated experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
And kind of with what you were saying there, the important part about that, even if you are having a nice winning streak and little failures here and there, the important part is, what are you learning from that?
Yeah.
Like, how are you growing through that, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times, we don't learn from the wins. I'll use real estate as an example. I have a client meeting, a listing presentation that goes extremely well, and I get the listing. Yes, I can evaluate what could I have done better, but I'm like, at the end of the day, they signed the contract, so that was a win. Whereas it's all of the appointments that I don't get that I'll sit down with a colleague and we'll run through, okay, what could I have done better? And it's those, because there's almost like a heartbreak attached to it. And that's what I've always said. I'm like, if I'm going to go through a heartbreak or if I'm going to go through a tough time, I'm going to get a lesson out of this and I'm not going to repeat it.
Right. I guess the important part is to grow and stretch ourselves, right? To get out of our comfort zone. And I think your life really exemplifies that. Whether that's moving to a different city, trying starting in a new arena, whatever it is that you're trying. And so you're coaching right now in CrossFit, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that, and I know you've already given us the mindset on why you believe in coaching so much, but was that a stretch, or did you feel like, okay, no, this is actually, I was born for this, I want to do this? I know that you've always had some good coaching attributes, and like I said, I've been the recipient of that and receiving that. And so did you find that a pretty kind of easy transition, or was it a learning curve?
Yeah, I love it. And I've been in the coaching space for my whole career life.
Right.
Started working with teams and athletes, doing more so strength and conditioning and rehab type coaching.
Right.
And then, I started coaching CrossFit specifically in 2014. And it was such an easy transition. And it is a job. I do it super part-time right now, but I love it. It doesn't feel like work. It's an opportunity. When you hear people talking about flow and you kind of lose track of time, and to me, that's what it is. I love being able to create, because in CrossFit, you're not just, criticizing, or not criticizing is the wrong word, but you're not just critiquing somebody's movement and giving them, drive your knees out, keep your chest up. It's about, because people want to come to CrossFit because it's fun. They've got amazing relationships there. There's an energy. And so part of it is making it the best hour of their day. So it's creating this space where there's high energy, they're having fun, it's a social time for them, and they're getting feedback, they're getting encouraged, and they're getting equipped to perform better. And it's just such a fun environment. And the reason why I love doing it is like part-time, like a couple hours a week. It works perfectly with real estate, because real estate, it is very demanding. I love real estate and I love helping my clients, but there is a lot of, we'll call it maybe stress, or a lot of pressure, a lot of just responsibility in what I'm dealing with. And so one of the things that I love is, having a, being negotiating deals and kind of in the middle of that, and then being able to like go coach a class for an hour is just, it takes my brain to a different space. It's fun. It's social. I can just be energetic. And yeah, I absolutely love it. But it kind of goes back to one of my original comments, that when I did that as a full-time job, I absolutely hated it. And that's, for me anyways, why I don't subscribe to the find what you're passionate about and make a career around that. And the quote that do something that you love and money will follow you. I do not subscribe to that whatsoever, because I was the perfect example of how it turned a passion into something that I absolutely hated.
Yep. No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's true, right? We have so many people that spend so much time and energy trying to find that perfect job, that perfect thing. And we invest so much time, and then we arrive there and go, actually, like yourself, you go as a hobby, as a thing that I did on the side. I loved it. But now that I actually have to do it maybe as a job or get paid for it, it changes it up. Right. And so what I catch from that though, is that you have a consistency. You made a commitment to your personal growth, leadership development, which we'll talk about in a moment a little bit deeper, with your coaching, just the attitude and perspective. And I think that's been consistent in everything that you have done. And because of that, it has allowed you to step up. And right now you are doing real estate and you're kicking butt at it, while still being able to do CrossFit. So it's been pretty cool to see how you come alive when you have the right perspective and the right things, kind of the right foundation, if I can say it that way.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Absolutely. And I think, to me, you want to find things that you're passionate about in life that really truly bring you alive. And if you can identify that and then build a life on top of that, that's what you want to do. And I think that you can find that in any industry, whether it's in the fitness space or in real estate or business. Like, I'm grateful for, like I said, the people that have been in my life, that I like, the mindset that I've developed. But if I was to get out of real estate tomorrow, which I don't plan on doing, because I absolutely love the career, and I love what I'm able to do and people that I'm able to help through it. But I got to apply this to any other industry, which I'm sure you can relate to as well. There's some key things that any industry will pay for, like people skills and leadership. If you have those, like, you can go anywhere and make a good income if you understand like these characteristic traits, which I think, you've talked about, right?
So let's talk about leadership a little bit, because I'm very passionate about this topic. Part of the reason that I started this podcast and my own company is that I don't think we give leadership enough credit, and there's a lot of people out there that are not seeing themselves as leaders, and also are not seeing the importance of actually developing that in that arena. And so I'd love to hear your perspective on a little bit more on that. And what's the difference between personal growth and leadership development? Is there a difference? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I've never really thought of that. I've always kind of lumped leadership into personal growth. So maybe it's a subsegment of that. But what I understand leadership to be is influence through action, or influence through action in relationships. And it has to start with yourself, because I think people get leadership and management kind of confused, and they, just because you have a title at a certain career or job or whatever, and you're a leader of people, okay, now you're a leader of people. Whereas a title doesn't, like John Maxwell talks about, a title doesn't equal leadership. A title is a position. And I see people in leadership positions that they manage. And it's all about getting other people to do things versus, and I think whatever position that you are in, maybe you don't lead anyone, maybe you're like, maybe it's just a family or you lead yourself, but it has to start with yourself. And how are you living your life? What are the character traits that you operate your life by? And how are you influencing other people? Because everybody operates their life with some metric of like their character, their values, everything like that. But I think the people that you would classify as these really big leaders, there's something about them that make other people be like, hey, why is your life like that? Why am I attracted to you? And I think it comes down to that influence in the relationships that they've created.
Yeah. And it's so true. A line that I like to say is that leadership starts in the home.
Yeah.
And whether that's leading yourself and then leading your family, your kids, your wife, your husband, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
It does start there. And you need to be willing to put in the work on that back end. And it seems like, well, no, I want to be the CEO or I want to run this business. But I buy in. I'd love to hear your take on this. I buy into this idea that whatever you're working on, like a project, your business, whatever it is, that it'll never outgrow the level of your leadership. Just because,
absolutely, yeah.
And have you seen that in your life when it comes to anything that you've done?
I've definitely seen it, because when I look inwards and I'm like, okay, I'm not where I want to be. I want to grow in these certain areas. It always comes down to, okay, what do I need to change? And usually it's, those little, this like kind of reminder, and it's like the little things matter in whatever that is, whether you have goals in your diet, your finances, your business, whatever it is, it always comes down to those little things. And I think that everyone knows those people that you walk around and you just sense their energy, like they're going somewhere. You have a meeting with them. It's easy to build rapport and build trust with them. And I've always wondered, like, what is it about those people that kind of gives them this like intangible magnetic quality? And for myself, I believe it's having the little things that matter in life in check. And that regardless of whatever your relationship situation is, when your relationships, the ones that are closest to you, are on track, when your finances are on track, when your health is on track, those things, when your business is on track, you just can show up in life and exude this confidence that I believe people are attracted to. And that's kind of, for me, what I've experienced, that intangible quality that some people are like, well, what's the technique to be a better X, Y, or Z? And it always comes back to, those little things. How do I get people to trust me more? Well, do things that you trust yourself. Follow through on the things that I'm going to do, and people will naturally trust me because I trust myself to do the little things and to follow through on the things that I said I was going to do.
Yeah, because if you're not being accountable to yourself, one example that I can give, like if you have a bad habit of snoozing in the morning, and you're already starting your day being defeated in that way because you're not being accountable to yourself, everybody else in the world might not know that you're doing that, but you know that.
Yeah.
And it'll project out in other ways when you're out there in the world, right?
Absolutely.
I'm also reminded, I love that you said the little things matter, and how true is that, right? Because the little things will matter to help you be successful, but it also works in the vice versa for the creating horrible habits. And I know there's some good books out there. I know one of the first books that I ever read was the Slight Edge, that really honed in on that. And I think there was another one called The Compound Effect that really unraveled that concept of why it's important to understand how the little things that we do actually do compound to greater things.
Yeah. I always use that example, like, if you're speaking in terms of like diet and health, you're not going to get fat and die of a heart attack from eating a burger tomorrow. But if you compound that, eventually maybe your arteries aren't looking too good in a bunch of years, but the little things will compound. If you eat a burger once, it just makes it that much easier to do it the next day, and it makes it even exponentially easier to do it the next day. But the good compounds as well. Like if you're trying to get into working out, it's super hard, but it will compound if you allow the consistency to actually take effect into your life and overcome all of that. Like, oh, I don't want to do it. Is this really working? It's not a big deal if I miss it. And, it truly, like in a segmented space, it's not a big deal if you miss it, other than understanding the compound effect and the power of consistency. Right.
Yeah. 100%. And when you commit to that, you keep to that, you one day show up to this level in your life, to this time in your life, and you're like, no, I didn't get here overnight. I also didn't get here by accident. And you look at years of association, books that you read, podcasts that you've taken in, and all of that, and you're the product of everything. But it started out small, right?
Yeah. Even I was chatting with a colleague because, like we mentioned, I moved to Vancouver last year, and within real estate, I was basically starting over a new career because I needed to build up a sphere and a client base here. And so many times in sales, you'll have phone calls from clients and it'll just be like, quote unquote, out of the blue. And it's happened to me a bunch from work that I did last year. And we were chatting about that, and I even said, I'm like, oh, it's so cool when stuff like this happens out of the blue. And then I had to correct myself. I'm like, this wasn't out of the blue. This is the compound effect of everything that I was doing when I was getting almost defeated. You're like, you're putting in work and not getting results. You're putting in work and not getting results. But understanding the type of work that you're putting in, you're not going to get an immediate return on that. And then however you want to qualify it, things happen out of the blue. Or you can look at it like, no, this wasn't out of the blue. This was just, you sow in a different, or you reap in a different season than you harvest type mindset, which can apply to any different industry.
Oh man, that's so valuable, right? Because we undervalue the sewing aspect of that, and we are so focused on results. Now, in your industry, specifically when it comes to being a realtor, your leadership will probably get highlighted in the way you serve people. And I would think that almost everybody that you talk to would want to buy a house from you, but there's probably people that don't, right? How does your leadership come alive when you're doing in that industry? Because I know there's people listening and they're going to go, well, I'm not a leader because all I do is I'm simply a waiter. I'm simply just at the bottom of the ladder at this job, or just starting out in business, whatever it is. But leadership is more than that.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's interesting because, spending my whole career life in coaching in some aspect, real estate's the exact same thing. I sit down with a client and for our very first meeting, and we talk about goals and we talk about resources. And if I was sitting down with a personal training client, it would be the exact same conversation. We talk about goals and we talk about resources, and then we map out a process on how we're going to get there. So it's my job as their realtor to understand where they want to go, to understand what resources do they have to actually get there, and then map them out a plan that's going to be simple and not confusing and overwhelming and stressful in order for them to get there. And then in that process of getting there, I always say I'm the voice of reason in a very emotional, stressful decision-making period. And you could apply that to real estate, or you could apply that to personal training. When somebody is super stressed out and they're stress eating, what does your personal trainer do to help you? They help you establish habits. They help you understand the cause. And I was even just chatting with clients the other day, and about their goals and moving and coordinating. They just got engaged and coordinating all of this, and it's become less about the actual criteria in the house, and it's almost putting in perspective of, okay, we're actually moving to our next stage of life. The next stage of life is scary, and you can't necessarily bring this old life with you to the new life. And kind of long story short, but it's helping them kind of remind them of that bigger picture of what they're truly trying to accomplish. And it's not just about, 2 beds, 2 baths, whatever the house parameters are, but it's helping them see that bigger picture. And it's never me telling somebody what to do, but it's when you understand somebody's goals and what they want to go after, it's posing different questions and reminding them of that big picture. And that, to me, that's leadership. And I think whether you're leading people or you're leading yourself, you're always going to lead yourself regardless of what environment that you are in. And some people love doing that with other people, and some people would rather kind of keep to themselves and lead themselves.
Yeah. Hey, I'm wondering, when you say the bigger picture, reminding them of the bigger picture, can we call that the why as well?
Yeah.
Like understanding like the why behind, so then you can have those goals
Yeah.
set up and all that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I have other clients, just to use this example, they were selling, and their why was they were selling this gorgeous property that they built, they absolutely loved, but they were selling because they wanted to be closer to their grandkids, because at where they currently were, they were spending 8-10 hours commuting to see their grandkids. And in the heat of the moment, and when somebody's solely focused on a number, and there's a lot of emotions attached to a home that you built for your family, that's what it was. It was reminding them of that bigger picture of what you're truly trying to accomplish. And like I said, never telling people what to do,
Right.
but posing it in a way of like, what's most important here.
You know what I love about what you're saying? It's almost like this wholeness aspect, right? It's not just about like, today I'm focusing on buying a house or selling a house, and tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym and work out and create these different um, sections in our lives, or
Yeah.
wearing different hats. It's actually having more of a wholeness mindset of understanding that it's all connected,
Yeah.
and especially when it comes to your values and your character, that actually it connects into everything that you do.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny how you said hats, and I've always said, because you hear people say, you're like, oh, I have the mom hat on, I have the friend hat, I have the realtor hat, I have the CrossFit hat, and I've always said, I want to wear one hat, and I want to be one person, and I want what I do in one industry to overflow into another industry, and I don't want to have to turn off a part of me to be successful over here, to be successful over here. And I think people crave that. Maybe it's just me, but I think people crave just being whole and finding environments where your strengths can shine in different spaces.
Hey, and I want to tell you that I have that is very true for you. I have seen that you are very consistent in everything that you do in that, and which is one of the best qualities about you. And so I can
Oh, thanks.
testify to say that that's true. So I'm interested in hearing a little bit more. Like, I know that you've talked about a lot of different things that you're doing and how you value it, but in this season of life, like, what are you doing to become the best version of yourself? Is there something unique that you're more focused on, or are you just being pretty consistent with things that you've always done?
I think I would say both. I'm being very consistent, for as long as I can remember. I've always chosen to get input that's allowing me to grow on a daily basis, reading, listening from whatever spaces that is. It's podcasts, it's books, it's audios, it's seminar, whatever that is. So I'm always seeking that out and then reevaluating and making sure that I'm actually applying. I'm consuming things that I can readily apply right away. And then just seeking out, one of my biggest focuses on this year was to just continually elevate the people that I surround myself by, people that are steps and steps ahead of me, but can also help me. I've heard different business coaches say, like, establish your board of advisors, or I call them my Fab Five, people that are a handful of steps ahead of me, but also can help me. They're not just, somebody I follow on Instagram that I like their mindset, but somebody that I can have a back and forth with. Another friend called, he's like, oh, I call him my vibe tribe. So like different things, but just continually reminding myself that I love people and I love being around people, but really hyper focusing. And that was something that I really set as a goal this year, of finding those people and being very intentional, making it very easy for them to spend time with me and seeking out that. And then I think just seeking out things that push me out of my comfort zone, whether that's professionally, personally, physically. I try and always do like some type of physical challenge. Like I love competing in CrossFit, but this year I signed up for a half marathon.
Wow.
I'm not a runner. I even said like last year, I was like, I would never run more than 10K. That's ridiculous. But I think the biggest reason I like being in those environments where I'm challenging myself, because the more times that you put yourself in hard situations, you just get better accustomed at handling hard situations. And I was telling some friends about cold plunging, and that's one of the reasons why I love it, is because it forces you to go to something that you can control. You can control your breathing,
Right.
but then it forces you that like, okay, hard's not actually that bad. Being cold is not actually that bad. I'm not going to die. Nothing terrible is going to happen other than just a feeling. And I can go back to my breath and kind of regulate that. And so continually finding different environments where I'm challenged, so that me being challenged and doing hard things is norm. So that when I'm in a professional space where it really matters, or in relationships where it really matters, and I'm encountering hard, it's like, okay, don't shy away from this. I'm used to just kind of digging in, breathing, and figuring it out, and knowing that it's uncomfortable because I've never gone there, but I can figure it out. I can get through it.
That's important too, is to stretch ourselves to do hard things, right? And the thing is that when we put ourselves out there comes a point where it's not hard anymore.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's probably the important part about continuing to stretch ourselves, putting ourselves in the environments. I know that you and I, in the past years, we've attended conferences together, and I know I have found so much value in being in those arenas where people are challenging you, encouraging you.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to keep on mind, hey, because like getting out of our comfort zone and being willing to get around other people that are like-minded, that maybe share the same values, who understand maybe the business we're in or whatever we're working on, that's probably a very important element to make sure we don't disregard.
For sure. And I think one of the biggest things I'm reminded of is being around those environments. It normalizes the hard, because I think when you're trying to pursue big goals in life, the average person, and I've had people say this to me, and they don't say it out of malice, but they're like, oh, Meaghan, you work too hard, take a break, go do something fun. And in my brain, I'm like, I get it, but they're not on the same path as me. And then I'm in this, hard, and I'm by myself. And so being in those environments, it normalizes, because to be totally transparent, part of the hard is like doing something by yourself for me. And being in those environments, I'm continually reminded of like, this is okay. There's more people that are doing this like you. They're just not common. And that was, to be honest, like one of the biggest reasons why that's a focus this year, is to just find, more people that are in the space that I can talk back and forth with, to remind myself that like, it's hard, but I've got these, my Fab Five, or however you want to call them.
Yeah.
They're with me. We're doing this, together, but by ourselves type thing.
So good. So I'm wondering if you have a thought behind, I know that you find dreaming big is very important. It's what pulls us up. But do you have any pointers on how to eliminate excuses? I think that's always like, there's always that thing that we will come up with whatever just to get out of something that we should be doing, or that's going to make us better. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think for some people, I mean, for me, like dreaming big is easy. Like I love talking about ideas and where we can go and the big picture and like, let's accomplish this. And I think a lot of people are like that. But then there's this gap between actually executing
Mm,
that. And because we get so many accolades from talking big, like, oh, I'm going to run a marathon, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to do this, I'm getting married, and people will give you accolades for that, and you're like, I haven't even done anything yet, I've just told you that I'm going to do it, but you get all of this support. And so like
mm,
that almost becomes easy. But then when it actually comes to doing it, nobody's like giving you an accolade when it's 5 a.m. and you're like, I got to get my long run in today. Or,
right,
you just had an argument with your fiance, or, you had a business idea and it totally, totally flopped. Nobody's giving you accolades for that. And so, yeah,
right.
it's really easy to give up. And so it's having that self-awareness is the
Mm,
big, having the self-awareness. And if you're not, I guess, kind of like entrepreneurial mature enough to have that awareness yourself, which I wasn't in the beginning, that's where having a coach is so paramount, because I needed that in the beginning. I wasn't aware. I was like, oh, this like quitting seems like a good idea, Meaghan. What do you think, Meaghan? Cool.
right.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
but I don't think I'm alone in that. Whereas now there's a little bit more maturity, and I'm like, I'm totally making an excuse right now. And
Right.
I think it comes down to that awareness,
Yeah.
and having somebody in your life that can help you bring that awareness so that you understand how to become and develop that self-awareness habit.
Hmm. I love that. I'm glad you said that, because you're right. Self awareness is huge
Yeah.
in anything. If you want to lead people better, if you want to lead yourself better, you have to be aware. You have to
Yeah.
presently know where you're at, where you possibly came from, and where you want to go. And
Yeah.
when you figure that out, the clarity comes in, right?
For sure. For sure.
Mm. That's so cool. I, Meaghan, everything you said, I'm completely jiving with you. I think this is pretty cool. Even some of
Yeah.
the
I love
things.
this conversation.
Well, and you've said some things that I've been talking about lately on the podcast. I've done some solo episodes where I've kind of touched on some of this.
Oh,
So
cool.
you've come on at a good time to just affirm some of the stuff that I've been
Awesome.
talking about. So I love it, and I know that you and I connect on this stuff. But I'm wondering, you've told us so much, and I think you've added so much value. Is there a piece of advice right now that maybe did you want to retell us if you already said it, or there's something new here that you want to give our listeners that will help them on their journey, whether that's in life or in business or whatever they're doing? Is there a piece of advice that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I think this came from like probably one of the most challenging times in my life. I was reading a Brene Brown book at the time,
Yep.
and she said a few things, and I turned it into this one kind of sentence that always stuck with me. And it's just, be unapologetically you, pursue a vision that sets you on fire, and bring as many people as possible. And I think I've always just reminded myself of those pieces in my life.
Wow.
And that would be my like biggest kind of take home to anyone, and you can take that into any industry that you want.
I love it. I love it. Cool. Okay. So, as you know, you're on the It Matters podcast, and I love to ask our guest, and I want to ask you as well, what matters to you right now?
I think the thing that matters most to me is helping people, and that's been a constant in everything that I've done.
Hmm.
But there, and I've applied that to any industry. And in order to help people, I need to be at my best. And so that can funnel down into, me growing and being my best, so that I can give people right now, the best real estate experience, and being able to figure out your goals and match you to that, and take a very overwhelming experience and sometimes very stressful experience, and making it fun and enjoyable. And whatever that is, I've always believed in my life that I can help people, whether you want to buy and sell a house right now, or you want to start CrossFit or not. I just believe in living my life in a way that someone can look at me and be like, she's pursuing a vision, she's so energetic, and that just inspires me to do the same in whatever industry.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, with that being said, if somebody wanted to connect with you, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram, Moves with Megs, and I post some good real estate content, and I have a lot of fun on there. And it's just a place where I can kind of showcase my personality. I've also got a YouTube channel that I am continually posting videos about the Vancouver real estate market. So if you're curious about Vancouver real estate, my YouTube channel is Real Estate in Vancouver.
Cool.
And there's new videos every single week on content of buying and selling and moving to Vancouver here.
Mm-hmm. And we'll add that information in the show notes so people can have easy access to that. Meaghan, this has been really good. I honestly, I appreciate you so much. I knew that you were going to bring it, and you definitely did. And so I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and adding value to not only to me but to many others. And I appreciate everything that you do.
Well, thank you so much, Walter. I was very excited to be on this and have this conversation. These are my favorite conversations to have, and I was excited to reconnect with you. And I know we have a lot of similar values. And yeah, I knew that this would be a great podcast here. So excited for your new adventure.
Thank you so much. And we'll have to do this again.
For sure.
I really appreciate what you've done today. And so, so thank you again. And that's going to be the end for this episode. And so for all of you listening out there, as always, remember to dream big, grow always, and lead well. Until next time, guys, see you soon.